In this lesson, let's concentrate on three things: stacking order in the Layers panel and how it impacts the visual image, making copies of layers, and if necessary, even deleting layers from the Layers panel. Let's start with stacking order. Now, I have actually open right now Alignment 101. We've used it before, and I've saved a couple of seconds here by aligning the circles left to right where they overlap each other. Because when you're talking stacking order, you have to see a relationship between the two, otherwise it wouldn't make any difference. So number 1's on top of 2, 3, 4, 5, you get it. That's because of the stacking order over here. This one will always be on the top. I don't care what's underneath it. If this one's on top, what's underneath it will not show, unless you do blending modes or other things. We're going to talk about that later. If you want to move one of these, change its stacking order, the most common way might not be the most efficient, but the most common is just drag it. If I take ball number 1 and drag it underneath ball number 2, and I'm waiting for that line to appear right there, you'll see 2 is now on top of 1. But since 1 does not interact with 3, 4, or 5, if I drag ball 1 all the way down the bottom, it's not going to change what you see. It has to interact with something on the other side. I can bring it back up the same way, just by dragging it and waiting for that little line to appear. Now, the shortcut method to me is a little bit faster if you remember the shortcut, and that's holding down the Command key on a Mac or the Control key in Windows and using your left and right bracket keys. So if I hold down the Command key, now I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to use the Command key, or Control in Windows. If I use the left bracket key, I go down. If I use the right bracket key, I go back up again. So I suppose it's a little bit faster, more efficient than doing it with the drag. Now, what about copying? Well, there's actually 3 ways we can achieve a copy. One would be actually to drag the layer that we want a copy of over on top of the new icon. Just like that. Let go. You now have ball to copy. If we do move it, it is indeed right there. That would be one method, not the most efficient. Another method would be to select the layer that you want a copy of, hold the Option key on a Macintosh and the Alt key in Windows and drag, and it will be more than glad to make a copy for you in another layer. My favorite way would be to use the shortcut. So if we go, say, to layer 5, ball 5, hold down the Control key or the Command key on a Mac and press the letter J, which is copy. And as you can see, we now have another copy. So you've got a lot of different ways, and that's not all, but you've got a lot of different ways to make copies of layers. Deleting is obviously very simple. If I don't want this one anymore, I can select it and press the Delete key, and that would be the backspace key on Windows and the Delete key on a Mac, and I wish somebody would get their keys together for me. If I don't want this one, another way would be to actually drag it down on top of the trash can. Now, there are ways to do everything I just showed you underneath the layer options up here. Some of them are under this button right here. There are probably a dozen different ways to do anything in this program, but those are the major ways we can effect changes: stacking, copying, and deleting.